Welcome into this Big Ten today. We are presented by Gatorade. I'm Dave Rebson. Great to have you with us on this Monday. The games may be over for the year, but now we can start thinking about next season, and coaching changes, always a huge part of that, and a big one in College Park leads us off today. It is our big story. After Maryland made the Sweet 16 last year, Kevin Willard left for Villanova. Enter Buzz Williams, fresh off a 6-year run at Texas A&M that included 3 straight NCAA tourneys. Now heading to College Park, looking to rebuild and build on the success from last year. First time the Terps have been to the second weekend in nearly a decade. It is Williams' 5th head coaching job, his 4th in a power conference. Had his greatest success at Marquette, where he made 3 straight Sweet 16s and an Elite 8. Also been at New Orleans and Virginia Tech, in addition to his time at College Station. 11 of his 18 seasons have ended with an NCAA berth. 6 have included 25 or more wins. Williams sitting down with Rick Pizzo.
Well, Buzz, welcome to the Big Ten. I know there's no chance that you're settled so far, but what's the last couple of weeks been like for you?
It's been pretty much the same the last 50 days. Wake up as early as I can, walk to work, and then when I get tired, walk back to the hotel. Try to sign players, try to hire coaches, try to schedule games. It's pretty much been the same every day.
Buzz, why was this the right move for you, even after what you had built at A&M?
I think we had lost to Michigan 5 days before. And that's when it all kind of began to unfold. And in every search, every situation is different, but I was very impressed by the vision of Dr. Pines. Colleen was tremendous. There was great symmetry from the beginning, and it didn't take long, to be honest. Have followed great coaches in every sport my whole career, Coach Williams being one of them, Coach Drizel being one of them. And then I've known Coach Willard since he was at Seton Hall years ago, and I was at Marquette. And so my time at Virginia Tech maybe helped me have a better view of the job of Maryland and understanding the area, the state, the population of good players, good coaches. It wasn't very long. I think it was 9 days after we lost to Michigan that my family and I were on the plane to College Park. And so normally things are not that quick, not that smooth. And it was just, my wife and I obviously were involved, but it was just Dr. Pons and Colleen. And so we were able to probably gain traction maybe faster than what some of these typical situations are.
You're a guy who's obviously not scared off by a new challenge. What do you like about those kind of challenges?
Well, it's different than any other time that I've taken a job. And so I've learned a lot, to be honest, over the last 50 days of, when we took the job at Texas A&M, when we took the job at Virginia Tech, there was some similarities. And that doesn't mean that all of that doesn't translate now, but in the new model, when you take a job, honestly, April the 2nd is almost late in some ways. And so you realize with when the portal begins, when there's a job search, when you get the job, it's different. And so I've learned a lot. The continuity of our staff over the last decade plus has been very helpful. That as soon as they could get hired by Maryland, they were able to be there and help. And so that's been great. Don't know a lot about the league, know a lot of the coaches, but hopefully we'll be able to spend some time this summer maybe better understanding the league. We played 5 teams, maybe 6 teams from the Big Ten last year at Texas A&M. Obviously Michigan in the tournament. We played Oregon and Rutgers in the Players Era tournament in Vegas. We played Purdue in Indianapolis. I'm looking forward to, and we've even kind of begun to disperse amongst our staff, teams that we're going to study just so that we can have a foundation of what the league is.
I know style changes based on what your roster makeup is each year. You got to coach to the players that you have. When you start to envision what you hope your team will look like on the floor this coming season, what does it look like?
I think as we were going through it, even though the pace is significantly quicker than ever before, we tried to make sure that as we were putting together team number one, so to say, in year number one, that there was versatility and that all of the things that you want to have capabilities of doing, we tried to disperse that relative to talent, but also position and also their age. We didn't want everybody to be first to college, but we didn't want everybody to be in their last year either. And so you can't dictate a lot of that, but sometimes when there are 50-50 decisions, I think we tried to side the way of sustainability. We'll have to use, honestly, the month of June to kind of diagnose what's best in regards to how we play. I think there'll be some remnants of what we've done over the last few years, but it's too early. I think that's the job of a good coach, is to put them in positions to be successful. And until I spend some time with them as people, not on an official visit, and spend some time with them on the court, will we know exactly what's best.
Obviously, there are a couple of guys you know that come with you from A&M, including a name that's very familiar to Big Ten guys in Pharrell Payne, who started at Minnesota. What did he give you at A&M? What will you need him to give you in College Park?
He was tremendous. He never backed away from anything, not in how we work, not the pace, not the intensity, not our language, not the different ways that we coach both sides of the ball. He's a beautiful human being, outstanding person, and we'll need him to be really good for us on both sides of the ball. Solomon Washington has been with us for 3 years. He's going into his last year. We know what Pharrell and we know what Solo bring. We redshirted 2 players last year as freshmen who are joining us at Maryland. They had great growth years on the floor, but also in the weight room. I'm excited about their future. And then, like nearly every coach that's here, we still have recruiting to do for this season. So you never know how that's going to play out when you get close to the end of May and summer school starting, but hopefully we can continue to find maybe another person or two that fits what we need.
Well, like Pharrell, you have Miles Rice, Isaiah Watts, Elijah Sanders, all double-digit scorers a year ago. So how comfortable are you with what looks like it could be the scoring ability of this team? You've got a lot of guys who seem like they know how to get the ball in the hole.
I hope you're right. Maybe I can bring you in and you can talk to our team. We've had some scoring droughts.
I'm a better motivator than I am a strategist.
That sounds really good. I hope what you said is accurate. I think each decision you try to make independent to make sure that they're the right fit as it relates to their character, their IQ on and off the floor, that they represent what we want to be about. So I do think that there are components of who they are. I hope they can score it the way you mentioned, though.
Our Gatorade game leaders focusing in on the year that was for Indiana athletics, a couple Big Ten titles, women's hoops in the NCAA tourney, while men's hoops has a new coach in Darren DeVries from West Virginia. And oh yeah, the football team set a school record for wins and made the college football playoff. Plenty to reflect on for AD Scott Dolson with Rick.
Scott, we'll touch on a lot of sports, but let's start on the football field because it was one of the most unexpected stories, not just in the Big Ten and not just in the country this year, but I would argue in the country in many years. From your perspective, what was that like to watch?
It was incredible. It was so fun in multiple ways. The key thing was it was so great to see a plan come together. The plan in terms of the process in hiring Coach Cignetti, ultimately his blueprint that he brought to Bloomington, and everything he said he was going to do in the interview process, he did. And to see it all work out, it just was just phenomenal. And ultimately for our fans, I mean, just to see the reaction of the fans. And Coach Sig says that a lot, just to see how the fan momentum built. And it's just incredible. And now we just want to make sure we're not a one-hit wonder. We want to build on that.
Well, Scott, you went outside the box to make that hire in a world where almost everybody had gone for younger coaches or elevating coaches from coordinator positions to head coaches. You went for an established head coach that, and I hope Kurt doesn't take this the wrong way, is on the second half of his career after all he's already accomplished. Why was that the move for you, and why did you feel like it was going to work out the way that it did?
You know, we put a lot of work into really preparing for the search. Before we even knew Kurt Cignetti would be a candidate, we put together a pro forma of what we felt from a risk management standpoint, what would work for us at IU. We looked at our history, we looked at similar programs like us, and we put together a pretty lengthy list of if we could pick a perfect coach, these are qualities they would have. We wanted an existing head coach. We wanted someone who had been a recruiting coordinator. We wanted someone who didn't have a lot of turnover in their staff. We wanted someone who developed quarterbacks. And honestly, when we went through the list, Coach Cignetti from the start checked every box. And then from the first time I got him on the phone, he just felt like something special. He just felt like a unique fit. It was really that combination of science with the list that we had, and he checked every box. And then the art of it is his personality, how authentic he is. He just, from the time he set foot in Bloomington, it's like he's been there 40 years.
Does an AD ever get nervous when a coach goes out on the limb and tells our crew in Indianapolis, hey, we're going to be back here next year playing in this game, or tells everybody at the start of the year, you have no idea how good we're going to be?
Yeah, it was interesting. I remember the day of our press conference when he came up to Indianapolis and he said, hey, we're going to be back here. And yeah, you think, hey, I hope that it works. But at the same time, Coach Sig has this confidence without being cocky. He's really an interesting person in terms of he really trusts his plan and the blueprint. And certainly the players in the locker room, his coaching staff, our athletic department, our whole university, you tend to just feel that it's going to come true because you believe in that plan. He's a process-oriented person. We're process-oriented, so it was really a good fit. But yeah, I'd be less than honest if I didn't say you get a little worried because we like to maybe it's easier if we're not talking and just make things. Your reputation is built on what you do, not what you say you're going to do. But certainly he's done it.
Under-promising and over-delivering is a little bit easier, but hey, when you walk the walk, then you can certainly talk the talk, and they certainly did that last year. But now he and you have set a high bar for yourself with your next hire as you bring in a new basketball coach to one of the most coveted programs in the history of the sport. Why was Coach DeVries the right choice?
It was a very similar process, really looking at our history, where we've been, looking around the country where basketball is going. And Darren checked every box, very similar to Coach Sig. We looked at someone that understood kind of the blue-collar, tough defense, Indiana basketball that could be blend that with modern offense, fast pace, up-tempo, three-point shooting, and then really the intangibles, just someone that just fit as a person, as a personality into our community, as a university, and just the state of Indiana. Again, like I said, it's different with football and basketball, but there's so many similarities between the two. Different personalities, but really unique fits for us in Bloomington.
What can you tell us about the conversations that you had with Mike Woodson before Coach Woodson made that decision public that this would be his final year?
Coach Woodson from the start when he came to IU back home, even though, as he said, he really never left because he's always been attached, really wanted to be a bridge. And he really wanted to bridge Indiana basketball to modernize it and get it to the next step. And I could tell as this season was going on, I knew he would be a relatively short-term coach, but I could tell he was feeling it was time to maybe move on and take that next step. And to his credit, the way he was his entire time at IU, he does things the right way, and he was always and is always about the players. And the time he announced that he wasn't going to come back, I think he really felt it was the best thing for the players so they could gel, come together, and really focus on the season rather than focus on whether he's going to be back or not.
And what do you think he means to Indiana basketball, not just as a coach, but obviously as a legendary player as well, and where he's gotten this program now in comparison to where it was when he took over?
Yeah, there's no question. The program's a much better place than it was when he took over, and a big part of that is again, what I call it is modernizing Indiana basketball. So many times fans, you want to go backwards, and there's a lot of good things when you look back. I grew up in it. I was a manager for Coach Knight, so I understand the history. We want to build on that and really use that as our foundation, but the game changes, and if you don't innovate, you're going to get left behind. And I think that was one of the big things, coming from the NBA, spending all the time he did there, bringing a different viewpoint, a different approach is really what Woody did. And, Woody's going to be a heralded and just iconic figure for Indiana basketball forever. And certainly appreciate him coming back and taking the program to the level he did.
One other thing we can't lose sight of is the fact that every university inside the Big Ten, and many have multiple Olympic sports that are national champions year in and year out. Your swimming and diving programs on both the men's and women's side are outstanding and have been for a long time. What do those programs mean to your athletic department?
Very invaluable. And Rick, I say it all the time. You look at our men's and women's swimming and diving programs, you look at our men's soccer program, and I say to Coach Lewis, I say to Coach Yeagley all the time that we don't take it for granted, that every year we just see that we're going to be at the top of the Big Ten standings and that we're going to compete for Big Ten championships and ultimately for national championships, and that I know how much work goes into that. But more than just what they're doing for their sports, they're a model for the rest of their department, how you build a program. And that, I think, is the key to success. Is it's one thing to have a big year and have kind of what I call a one-hit wonder. It's another thing to sustain success and to have that foundation you can build in your program. And that's why I'm so proud of our swimming and diving programs and certainly our soccer program. And candidly, our women's basketball program, and what we're trying to do with football and men's basketball now is to have that sustained success.
How careful do we have to be in this era of revenue sharing that those programs don't get negatively affected?
It's very concerning. It is, because at some point, there's only one pot of money, and that money, you need to be really wise how you allocate those resources, and ultimately, again, not to lose sight of what we're all about, what we stand for. And so I do have concerns that as you redistribute that money, you don't want unintended consequences to negatively impact the rest of your department, and certainly sports that are critical to our campus and to our university.
Last week, the Big Ten held a leadership retreat at conference headquarters in Rosemont, Illinois, where current Big Ten student athletes took part in team building activities and networking sessions focused on providing them with additional tools they can take back to their campus to be better leaders. Here's a look inside that formative experience.
Well, as the biggest and best conference, I mean, our mission is about how do we continue to educate, empower our student athletes, and this is really about both. We want our student athletes to be the best on the field, on the court, but also the best off the field in the world. And this aligns with providing them an opportunity to build skills for both.
Truthfully, anywhere that I am, I aspire to be a leader that everyone can follow what I'm doing, whether that be what I'm saying, what I'm actually doing. I just want to set a great example for the guys under me, even people that may be older than me. I want to just set a great example on and off the field.
I think the thing that has inspired me or surprised me the most from this experience is just how you're always going to be learning. You're never the smartest person in the room, and I think that's the best thing about getting all these people together is you're always learning, you're always growing, and there's always something new that someone can teach you.
I really hope that student athletes, they walk away with a couple of tools that will be tangible as they go back to campus and go through life. One is learning to network and how do you go about building relationships. I think two is being able to ask questions in rooms. And so we really want to push them to be leaders on their teams, on their campuses and in their communities. And that starts with being able to ask tough questions. And then three, we want them to get to know other student athletes. It really is a unique opportunity when you think about it to have all 18 institutions represented and student athletes from all different sports coming together. So for them to be able to connect and meet other athletes, student athletes, that's really important to us.
I think there's so many valuable opportunities in attending a student-athlete leadership retreat. One, just personal development, things I can bring back to the team, meeting new people. I think it's really, really cool that we get to meet people from other sports and even people from, my own university that I don't get to interact with on a day-to-day basis.
I feel like leadership is something that goes beyond the scope of just a sport and can be applied to your whole life, whether it's here with your family, back at home, whatever it may be. So I feel like this is something that's very useful as a life skill, and like meeting a whole lot of new people that are doing big things with their lives as well. So that'll be pretty cool.
These skills are not skills that are just for basketball. When we go back in a couple weeks with our team, they're skills for life, whether it's work, extracurricular activities, and like family-oriented stuff. Like being a leader and learning how to be a leader is a super important trait, and I think this conference will help hone our skills and sharpen them to be better.
Really neat experience. Seems like the student athletes got a ton out of that. We hope you got a ton out of this show. Thanks so much for watching Big Ten Today. We will see you next time here on the Big Ten Network.